All right. All the witnesses have gone. Both sides have rested. One mistake that I see people make all the time, and I admit sometimes I forget to even talk about it, is, if you're going to have a divorce trial, this is an event that has been a long time in the making. Not just going back through your marriage, but a long time in the making through the divorce action itself.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that people commonly cope with this type of stressful situation is they've got this date in their mind and this enormous event. And so you naturally set it as it's over when the trial finishes.
I wish that were true.
Unfortunately, under most circumstances, if you had to actually have a 2, 3, sometimes more day trial, you're probably not going to get a ruling that day.
Occasionally you will.
Occasionally.
But
and
usually you don't.
That's sometimes dependent on who the judge is. So courts can do one of two things. They can rule from the bench, and that's maybe what you're sort of imagining would happen, which is the judge, everybody rests, and then the judge says, okay,
here's what I'm going to do.
This is what I've decided. And then you found out right then.
And sometimes they can do that.
Sometimes they can.
If it's very narrow, if it's one, we're looking for one amount of money, or we're making sometimes even a custody decision. If the only thing in dispute is does mama get custody or does daddy get custody, then they're going to go through the Albright factors and they might be able to rule right then. But more times than not, Matt, they don't.
Right. If the court's having to decide on who's entitled to the divorce, who's going to have custody, how much support the other parent's going to pay, what the visitation schedule is going to be like, how your assets and liabilities are going to be divided, all of those things, and they're having to weigh multiple different witnesses' testimonies, they're going to have to take some time to think about it, and that's called taking it under advisement.
Yeah.
So you're not, 9 times out of 10, if you've had a multi-day divorce trial, you're not going to find out that day.
Right.
Now,
and they could make us do something called writing a findings of fact and conclusions of law. And that's essentially, I don't know how else to say it. They're asking the lawyers to pretend you're the judge and write a paper that they could adopt as their decision.
Right.
And that's a pretty common thing.
What do you think happened in the trial?
Yeah.
What
were the facts that were developed? What was proven? And what should the result of the dispute be?
And again, depending on who your judge is and what their docket's like and how much they have going on, if they take a case under advisement, you might have a written opinion in a couple weeks. Some instances, it might be a year.
And we've waited, unfortunately, in a recent case, we waited 2 whole years for there to be a decision. And there's rules about when courts can, when they're supposed to have decisions made. And, your lawyer is going to have to advise you with regard to if there's a judge who's taken a case under advisement and they've had it under advisement for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, then, the lawyer will help advise you on whether or not it's a good idea to press the judge a little bit for a decision.
Right.
And again, every situation is different. Every case is different. The more complex the case is, the more likely it is that the judge is going to take time and ask for more feedback from the attorneys through some written materials to actually make the decision.
Right. So, that sometimes I guess we can include this inside of a discussion about divorce trials. Once you have received your written opinion, there may be some things that have to be clarified or things that have to be addressed. And so you might have some, what would be called post-trial motions.
Right, where you're trying to figure out, okay, well, the judge said this in their opinion, but it is a little ambiguous and we didn't quite understand what it was. And so, honestly, you think that the trial is the end, but sometimes it is just the beginning of a new phase of the dispute, and it just depends on the people. Matt, gosh, there's just so much that we could talk about. I think we've come to the end of our time today. I do want to remind our listeners that, guys, divorce is terrible. And Matt, wouldn't you agree that the only thing worse than a divorce is one where there's a trial? And the only thing worse than that is when there's a trial, and then after the trial, there's ongoing dispute and a possible appeal. The only thing worse than a divorce is one with a trial. The only thing worse than one with a trial is one that'll never end.
Right.
And we really do want our clients to be able to move on, to live healthy, happy, fulfilling lives. And Sometimes the divorce trial is just a roadblock that you have to overcome. And gosh, it's just if you can avoid a divorce trial, you certainly want to.
Yeah, you should. For many of the reasons that we covered today, not just the hurt and damage that the proceedings of the testimony cause, but the time, effort, expense, usually it's left open-ended, at least for a period of time.
Right.
If you can reach a settlement, there are intrinsic, value. There's intrinsic value to it, like closure, like knowing that it's over, being able to have control over that and say, all right, I'm putting a period at the end of this sentence and I'm moving on. Again, sometimes it's unavoidable.
Right.
And if you have to do that, make sure that you've got somebody on your side that knows what they're doing. Listen to them.
Yeah.
Because just if they know what they're doing and you don't listen to them, you're basically wasting your money.
Wasting your money.
I've had plenty of people say, oh, well, y'all are supposed to be the best or this or that. I hired you, so that means I win. No,
you got to do what
you hired me
say you do
so that I can help you figure out the right way to present this, and let's tell your story in the correct way. You've got to do your part. There is no bigger piece to a divorce trial than you. Okay, you're the one you're the star.
You are the star of the trial, that's for sure. But gosh, it's if you can avoid it, you really want to try, because you're taking all the power away from yourself and your spouse and giving it to a stranger. And it does a lot of damage to the relationship. You might still have a child together that you're trying to co-parent with. And so, Matt, if somebody is hearing our voice and would be interested in sitting down and talking to a team member at Robertson and Easterling, tell them how they can connect with us.
Well, you can always get information about our firm or how to get in touch with us at our website, which is robertson.ms. You can also call our office, which is 601-898-8655. And any one of our team members would be happy to talk to you and help you fill out an intake form and get on one of our schedules.
Yeah, guys, listen, I hope that you found today's information to be helpful for you. Gosh, I really hope that you don't have the experience of having a divorce trial, but we hope that this short little recording will be helpful in the event that you find yourself in the unfortunate event where you're in divorce court in Mississippi.